Welcome back, Nathaniel.
Hey, thank you. I appreciate it. I've got like a really small period of time, but I am glad to be back.
Welcome back. Right. So Nathaniel said he used to be a flat earther, but went back to the globe, but agrees that space is not as we've been told, and NASA is full of. Is that correct? Oh, sorry. Excuse my language, Nathaniel.
No, that's how it goes. Not a big deal. I'm actually away from the children this time, although they might show up. I've got a half an hour.
Yeah, remember, still just Nathaniel, sorry, asked to set a boundary. He did ask that while he's part of the chat, that we try to curb the swearing. So I earlier when he was in here today, I said that's a good idea. We should all practice some control with the curse words. So I just want to make sure everyone understands that part of his boundary is he wants to be here, but he also would prefer that while he's here, that we watch our language.
Yeah, I sure appreciate that. I mean, obviously, I did a bad job because I was like talking about a man being sodomized to death. So that's disturbing for children.
NASA is full of poop. All right.
Right.
Okay. So what was it specifically that made you doubt flat Earth after you had already looked into it?
Well, let's see. I know evolution's nonsense, right? And then I came to believe a young Earth, and this is all progressively. And I started as an atheist. Now I'm a Roman Catholic, for better or worse. But so when I had young Earth, when I realized that one, it had an interesting effect on my mind where it shrunk down my worldview to where it actually became very personal. It's like, wow, I only have, 1,000 ancestors before Adam. And so I had this sense like God, starting from like this nihilistic atheism to the point where now we're like God is heavily involved in like human events. They're all affected very closely by him. And so I came to believe a flat Earth for the same reason, because it's the kind of cosmology that God, the real God, loving all the things we know about God from philosophy and theology and from faith and all that kind of stuff. That's the kind he would make. And I think that I still probably hold all the most important aspects of it. And I don't feel very strongly that it is global. I was talking to a man here from Eastern Orthodox. Apparently out east, it's still, that's complex too, but it's still very possible to be. But I read a book called Flat Earth, Flat Wrong. I read about half of it. Obviously, a strong title. And then, but there was a part in there where he quoted a lot of church fathers, and their explanations dealing with the shape of the Earth is kind of what made me think, well, they must be right. Although, like I said, I don't feel about it strongly. My children are gone. So that's it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that was good. Thank you. Have you looked into this deep? I mean, have you looked into the empirical evidence side of things, like specifically the long distance observations, laser tests, that sort of thing?
No, I'm not very influenced that way. I'm just not an empiricist. I kind of that's part of the reason I wanted to tell you all that. Hello, sir. Good morning. You can sit right there. I'm just on a phone call. I was kind of trying to show that I'm very persuaded or influenced by like a philosophical understanding. I'm a novelist. So for me, the more I learn about God and the way he works, the more that's kind of what influences all my other views, right? Like I start with theology and I work my way down. But that's also why I say I'm not very attached to the globe. It's because of the the authority of the church fathers that I read that I essentially believe it ends, because it's just not that significant to me. The shape of the heavens is much more important to me for whatever reason. I guess because that's where I want to go. Does that make sense? Full stop. Trying to let you know when I'm done answering your question.
Hang on a minute. Why am I tech suppressed?
Take a what?
Sorry, Nathaniel. Yeah, I was listening to you. My wife came right at the end of when you were talking and asked me a question. So apologies. I
Oh,
can't
I'm
get
glad.
back.
Congratulations
Yeah, look,
on having a
it's
wife.
good to have you around here. If you have more time, right, I'd love to go through some long distance observations, right? Just go over some of the 101s you might not have looked into, right? Because
Sure.
you know we're a bunch of empiricists here, and you'll find that we don't speculate too much, right? We can pretty much back up everything that we say with video, high definition videos, or citations, that sort of thing. So yeah. I mean, when time we should go over some long distance observations that are literally impossible on a globe.
Sure. Yeah, I'm content to do that. I mean, when I was looking into flat Earth, those things I did find persuasive. Trying to think of the biggest thing that slowed me down was probably the idea of inertia, but I did end up abandoning that because what I said to myself is, well, here, and I think now I'm a geocentrist, right? I think the Earth is at the center of the universe, and I work with a lot of people who are big into academia and science and that kind of thing. And I also believe it doesn't move. I think the heavens moves around it. And that's enough to be like a crazy man to a lot of people.
Yeah, well, we definitely agree on a bunch of things. I think, I mean, if you haven't had the time to go over some of these observations that have been done over the years, then, I mean, maybe that's all you need to see.
Could be. Sure. Well, I'm
get
content to do it. Here I am. I'd really like to figure out. I'm terrible with technology too. I mean, I could tell you all about the French Revolution, the SARS, economic theory, but man, making computers work drives me crazy. And I'm trying to like pull the clip from your live stream and then publish it. So, but I'm still gonna keep trying. So yeah. So if you want to go over those things, it's fine. I'll publish it. Here I am.
Yeah, I mean, if you've got 5 minutes, I could go over a simple observation just to give you a general idea of what I'm talking about here with these long distance observations.
Yeah, I think it would. I think it would help me make my point that we have to be more reasonable and work together because, I really don't like the way people are controlled and manipulated right now, especially economically. So yes, so I'm just kind of like my son showed up and then disappeared again. So I'm kind of back and forth. So visual things are going to be hard. You might have to walk me through it.
And when you say geocentrist, and then you said Earth is the center of the universe, do you mean as in universe, as in vacuum of space?
No, I said that earlier. I don't believe in a vacuum. I believe in, I guess, probably the ether. Is he okay here?
Ether? What's ether?
Yeah,
Okay.
can you define that, please?
Sure. Okay, I'll take him. Sorry. It's my son. So
fair.
the ether, my best understanding is, and it's probably unfortunate that most of my cosmology relies on materials that... Say again? Calculation?
Speculation.
Oh, yes. Yeah, speculation. Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing that, St. Augustine was working with, except he probably had a better understanding of, like, Greek mathematics and stuff like that, which is, I think, where a lot of the globe stuff comes from. And people argue that Aristotle and some of those Greeks had a huge influence on the West. And so I think that's what that Eastern fellow was trying to say. But what I was going to say actually was materials that have their nature in a specific place that aren't present on Earth. So like the ether, and they've done measurements and stuff like that. So it's something. It's just
measurements of
I
what?
guess of the ether by there's that
What is
famous one. So that would be what fills the vacuum of space. So it's a material that light travels through and all that kind of thing to reach the Earth.
How did they test it?
My understanding was it had to do with like light bending off or bouncing off of mirrors or something like that. Trying to remember the name of the experiment. Like I said, I don't put too much stock into that. Go ahead.
Michelson-Morley?
That's probably the one. Yeah. And then eventually Einstein came around and said it's
I
relative.
don't think they proved
he's-
it though. They just
No, I don't think it proves it at all. I mean,
made a comment at the end of it.
yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, there's a lot of things I just expect people never to prove. And I think basically a lot of the lies come from their desire. You know, they want to prove something, they can't because God made it. It's above them, and then they just lie about it. I mean, I think that's basically how NASA works.
Like the ether.
Well, so you tell me, because you obviously know more about it than me. You know, I'm sure I've embarrassed myself enough. So what is it then? So it's not a vacuum. What is it? What is up there? What is the firmament?
Who knows, man? It's all speculation.
Well, that's fair enough. So we agree. Okay. Well, I apologize for pretending like I knew more than I did.
Dude, no, you're good. I would like to point out this though. The archaic, that word aether, it means
Ether?
upper air that burns or shines, and it's also the name of a
Alright.
god, the primordial god of light. So I've been warning people, be careful about worshiping that god named Aether.
Oh, really? Well, that's
It's
interesting.
trippy, dude. You can check it out for yourself, but it's weird. There's a primordial god that's connected to this other entity named Nyx. It goes back to some ancient.
Well, I just met
Really
somebody who goes by the name Nix, and then, that's very interesting. You know, a lot of people, I kind of don't like saying Thursday. Yeah, so I'm probably one of the people who'd be influenced more than others about that.
To
Just
be
sit
fair
with
to
me.
you,
You're very emotional. Good.
to be fair to you though, right? Going back, you did
Mhm.
preface with it's just a belief, so you weren't making a knowledge claim.
No, I'm not. I think that's where a lot of the the flack comes from is being so certain that it exists, yeah, or that or they say that we like know what it is or can know what it is before, you know, seeing God at our judgment, that kind of thing. Now, I don't think there's anything wrong with trying to find out in a humble Christian way. I mean, I do support the people. Like I said, I do a lot of work with, for instance, like the Kolbe Center, and they're really good, you know, and they're a bunch of geocentrists and stuff like that. So I'd support it. I just think empirical approaches is one of the approaches, and I think that, in fact, I'm trying to talk to a guy about this. I think that the philosophy in the West that comes out of the Enlightenment, and then like especially in the 1800s, where it's like a very materialistic philosophy, and it doesn't have it's one philosophy and it has no respect for theology, and it kind of like messes up the way people have sought knowledge, you know, throughout all of time. You know what I mean? Like, we can know that there is a God. We can even know that he's in heaven. And those things are more important than the ether. And the ether's fine. I mean, or you know, pagan gods or whatever we want to know about. The whatever, you know, the material of the heavens or the nature of the firmament or the water above the waters. Or water above the firmament, I guess. I'm really interested in that. What do you guys make of that? The water above the firmament. There was one church father that says essentially, if you go to the end of what you might call space or whatever people are calling it, past all the stars and stuff, that there's essentially like an ice wall or a crystalline wall And I've meditated on that. That's fascinating. What do you think of that? Whoever wants to talk
Sounds
about it.
like a mad speculation Sunday show.
Yeah. Do you guys don't like speculating at all? Is that the case?
We
Well, let me ask you this,
save it all up for Sunday.
There you go.
I didn't hear that.
We save it all up for Sunday.
Oh, okay. So it's like organized by topic. So on Sunday, you guys talk about speculation.
Yeah, speculate on Sunday. Go for it, mate.
All right. What do you guys do today? Because what is today? Today's Monday.
Just any other day. But I mean, like, yeah. So we just reserve Sunday for anyone that wants to speculate, because people do like to speculate. But we like to
Okay.
identify between that which we can know and that which we can only speculate about.
Okay. Well, forgive me. I'm getting to know your culture. So what? So you wanted to tell me about some like proofs and whatnot. Are any of those doable verbally? Well, I still have time here. You want to tell me about some of those, and I'll tell you what I think.
I think that was DJ that mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, I mean, I could go over it. Like, I could just post an observation in the side chat. We could go over it. Right, it's a good example. It's very easy to follow along with. I'll explain it all.
There was one that was like 8 miles square, or something like that.
Well, that would be the rate of curvature, right, over a certain
Right.
distance. Right. So basically, if the Earth is a globe with a radius of 3,959 miles that they tell us, right, it has to have certain characteristics of the globe that go along with that. That must be there, right? So it would
Right.
be
Sure.
curvature, obviously, right? And you can calculate how much curvature there should be over a certain distance, right? So
Yeah.
uh,
I
just-
did
just
find
as-
that one very persuasive because I'm pretty sure I can see more than 8 miles, and I've seen the video of a guy who like watches or can see like over the Lake Superior or something like that. Yeah, 8 miles is not that much.
right. So I mean, over 10 miles, right? There would actually be 66 foot of curvature, right? That's like a 6-story building, right? So for example, if you went to
Wow.
a lake, if you went to a lake that was 10 miles across, right, there should be 66 foot of curvature over that distance. So you could start performing different types of tests on that body of water. The common test people do is just to set up a camera, right? Like a super zoom camera, like a Nikon P900. They have crazy zoom capabilities, right? I think it's 83x optical zoom, which is like telescope level, basically. Anyway, you could set up that camera at, say, 1 foot off the surface of the water, right? And if the Earth is a globe, you should have a horizon at a certain distance. So say that the camera's set up at 1 foot off the surface, right? We can do the math, right? And according to the globe mathematics, the horizon would have to be at a particular distance, right? So from 1 foot observer height, the horizon would have to be at 1.225 miles, right? And anything that goes beyond that physical horizon, right, the geometric horizon they call it,
Wait.
would
So
start to become obstructed behind the horizon.
you said the horizon's only a mile away? Not like 8 miles away?
Well, it depends on your observer height, right? So from 1 foot, right, it's much closer. So at
I
school,
see. Okay.
yeah, so at school they taught me that if you're 6 foot tall, you're standing at the beach, you're looking out over the ocean, the horizon would be at 3 miles. Right, so if you go
Okay.
lower, it's closer. If you go higher, right? So to have an 8 mile horizon, you would have. Yeah, it's not a
that's
long
short,
distance,
short.
right? Well, most
Yeah.
people think, we can't see the curvature of the Earth. It's too big, right? We're so small, and Earth is so big, right? That's kind of what most people think, but they haven't actually done the math to work out that. Yeah,
I have not done the math. So you said, somebody said it's like 5,900 miles. You said is the radius.
It's 3,959 miles, right, from the center out to the edge. Yeah, like a straight
And
line.
everyone
From the edge, yeah.
everyone agrees on that. I guess they would have to.
Yeah, that's the R value. It's like the core fundamental behind all the globe Earth math, right? All the distances to the planetary
Yeah, I mean, it'd be
bodies,
pretty hard to get.
putting things in space, right? Going to the moon, all of that stuff is reliant on the radius value, the R value, gravity. I mean, everything basically. So if that core variable's wrong, right, then all the math is kind of wrong for the entire.
So is that number 3,900? I believe you said. Is that used? Like, where do I find that? Because because I don't often look at formulas for gravity or anything like that, and I don't trust NASA. I already told you that. So I'm just wondering how many things are dependent on that.
I mean, to calculate the distance to the sun, or to calculate, how big a planet is, or anything like that, it's all kind of based off the radius value, right? To calculate like their orbital mechanics, to calculate like when they're sending their satellites into space and everything.
Distance between two masses. Between two masses. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there is it used for anything that's not what do you call it, cosmonautics? Anything that's like on Earth? Like as a cell company using it. Good.
What you'll find is that most industries utilize the Earth as a flat plane. Yeah.
Right. That's what I always thought. Yeah.
Yeah. Like I know an aerospace engineer, and he told me, like, he's a globe earther, right? But he told me that all of the calculations that they use when they're designing the aircrafts assume a flat stationary plane.
Right. I remember that one was.
Yeah.
What I'm wondering is if, like, yeah, you might call it speculative, but I do like understand and approach the world a lot from the point of view of like human society and how it runs. And so I wonder if that one factor or math number is if it's possible for NASA to lie about that, and then it doesn't really, like, all these industries and whatnot, they just ignore it anyways. You know what I mean? Like, I wonder if it because if I found, I don't know what to say about that. So if I found out that NASA lied about that number, I wouldn't be very surprised. And it wouldn't necessarily. Go ahead. Yeah, see, that's what I want to know. I want to know if somebody else.
It's basically the size that they tell us the globe is, right? So, like I was saying originally, the globe has to have certain characteristics that go along with that radius value that they all agree on. Okay, right. So you would have to have that horizon at a certain distance for starters, right? And what we find is that we cannot detect this geometric horizon that should exist, right? When we make these observations, right, much of the time we can see the horizon over 1,000% further, right, 2,000% further sometimes than what it would be.
Yeah, because it's a short distance. So is there any possibility for it to be a larger globe, I guess? Or is that just preclude globe at all?
Then you got to change. Then they'd have to change everything. Distance to the sun.
Yeah, all those things. Yeah. Well, I mean,
the measurement of gravity.
Yeah, the entire heliocentric model would be, they would have to rewrite the entire education system. They would have to admit they're lying about space. They're lying about the moon missions, all of that stuff, right? The distances between locations, even, right? Just going from A to B, right, from country to country.
No, that wouldn't change. That wouldn't change at all. Why would it just make it places that we haven't been?
The trust and integrity are important, which is why I'd prefer to talk to you individually, and I'm happy to do that if you have the time to do that. But nobody has time and nobody has money because of usury, which is why I'm fighting usury with all my heart, with everybody I can find. And if you want to support me with your time, if you have any extra, please contact me individually. If you have to send me money to support me, that's fine. We'll find the least usurious way as possible, and you'll see a link. There are 3 ways that we can do this, or there are 3 ways that I'm working on right now. There's one bottom-up approach. I'm talking quickly for the people who don't have time. and that involves creating insular economies, which is what you will find out when you contact me individually with your extra time. That's the most important. I'm doing that locally and I'm doing that electronically, which is where you come in. The other two are top down. So that you can find a user, you can cause them to repent, you can tell them about Jesus Christ, and then he should fix everything. And so we won't suffer as much. Or you can pass Jubilee laws, which you don't need to find the user or do that. It makes usury illegal. It benefits everybody who is struggling, and it will punish users or anybody who commits usury. So, which is not the people you think. Nobody knows who they are. So don't worry about you being affected by that. But I'm doing the first one. I'm researching the other two, and I'm glad to hear your thoughts.